Cool. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this demo day. Lots of exciting features since the last one after Madrid. I'm going to show mainly my work regarding billing. We've been doing a lot of changes in the field of like billing, credits, paywalls, and we're starting to shape our billing strategy in a more like in a more realistic way. We have different tiers, and over this past sprint that I've been working on is I have implemented uh, basically one second. I have implemented share window here. Yeah, I have implemented two different tiers, which are basically enterprise and free, and I have implemented a credit system. So basically, how it works is like if you go to settings, you go to billing, you will be able to see this new basically screen, which gives you your available credits. Right now in this organization, I have 0, and then you can also upgrade to enterprise. So let's say, like me, you actually hit the limit and you want to like get in touch with us. You can just click here, and there will be this form where you can give some of our information, and that will reach out to us, and then we can just send you an email or a video call, and we can speak with you about your use case, and probably talk about that in the future. And there is also, let me get this organization. If we go here to settings, this one, for example, we can see that we have billing. Well, we don't have credit in this one either. Let me go to another one. Over here, settings, billing. Yes, for example, in this one, we have like 10K credits. As you can see, this one is like an enterprise organization. And here you would see the enterprise channel. So let's say we have like an email that we use to communicate with this enterprise, or like a Telegram specific channel, Discord channel, so that they know exactly where to get if they need some help on the credits. And another thing, basically, if we go here to GraphQL, since everything has been basically paywalled, right now we have this selector here, which allows you to use in which organization you want to spend the credits from. Let's say, for example, I'm in this one, which has no credits. Let me do like a simple query. I don't know, like SBOMs, and let me put like a limit of 10, and then we run this. This will basically throw an error saying, hey, you have like 0 credits remaining. Your next refill is 7 of November, and please contact us at sales if you want to upgrade your plan. And then we can change this, for example, to be with the OSO organization, which then we will run, and this will actually use a credit and give us back the data. Credits are refilled monthly. Every organization has 1,000 credits monthly by default. Nonetheless, we are still experimenting with this value, so we may decrease it or increase it in the future. Our SQL routes, we updated PyOSO. So basically, if I go back and I open a notebook, so let me, for example, do something like Javi, and then I can go into notebooks and I can create like a new notebook. And then let me just run PyOSO query. This will also get the insufficient credit error. So if we do something like, for example, SQL, this will like select 1. This will basically throw this organization, credits remaining, everything, and you can catch it with from PyOSO import, and it's like insufficient credit error, but I think we haven't updated the PyOSO version here, so we won't be able to get it. But it's we need to update the PyOSO version.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you publish a new PyOSO version or no?
I only bumped the December version. I don't know if that's automatic.
I see. That doesn't. Yeah. I'll publish a new one. Yeah. No worries. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. So yeah, when we publish that, we will be able to catch this error. And it basically redirects you to your billing page, personalized with some information. If you were like enterprise, you get like the support channel, support email, so that you know what to do in the situation. I've also done some changes to Baxter. Let me pull that up super quick. Baxter.oso.xyz. The thing that I've been working on is the SBOM job. If we go here to runs, and we go here to like, is it here, the SBOM? Yes. If we go here, and if we go to the SBOM job, let me just go here. So SBOM folder, come on, OSSD SBOM events. And if we go to the last run, for example, this one got finish. One thing that we changed is in the past, we were actually fetching all of the chunks from GCS. We were loading them in the pod, and then we were uploading them again to GCS and then to BigQuery. This is a little bit, how to say this, redundant. The rationale behind that was basically that DLT has its own way of shaping data with, DLT ID, load ID, everything, and it's something that we cannot reproduce in our side. So that step was needed. But as our jobs got bigger and bigger, this one, for example, which is this one actually uses the whole approach. As our jobs got bigger and bigger and bigger, we found out that there was this state where basically we couldn't even get the job to finish because it would get into this retry loop because the spot instance would die way before the pod fetched all the data, and it just didn't finish. So right now what it does is at the end, it gets all chunks using this asterisk approach, and it just goes one load job. So instead of having to wait for 12 hours loading files, we can do this in 20 seconds, which is billing time that we don't have to pay for, and time that we don't have to wait for data. This is only in the non-factory assets. By non-factory, I mean non-GraphQL factory asset, which is all the OSSD, for example. So next step would be to implement this pattern in the GraphQL factory once, and unblock the ENS domains once and for all. But yeah, that's everything that I wanted to share.
The SBOM fetcher is. Wait, hold on, man. It's been a while since I looked at this. Is the SBOM fetcher part of the OSSD asset, or is it separate?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Dataset, not the asset. OSSD, there's many assets.
Right.
There's a folder of assets.
But there's a custom DLT Daxter asset, software-defined data asset, Daxter asset for SBOMs, as opposed to using one of our REST or GraphQL factories.
Yes, that's correct.
Is there a reason why we did it that way, as opposed to just using one of the factories?
I don't think we didn't have the factories when I did that. I think it was November last year. So worth considering if you want to migrate it.
I'm trying to understand here because I feel like the maintenance cost basically explodes if the more custom assets we have.
Correct.
Right? This is a custom asset.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a world where this gets reconciled? Because you live in a world right now where every single time this happens, you have to implement it. So that's why you're saying, oh, okay, now I'm going to implement it in the factory. But is the right approach to just combine the two to begin with?
Yes, that's obviously the ideal world that we're moving towards. There's a lot of moving pieces right now. For example, we depend on this GitHub fetcher that basically fetches all the repos beforehand, which is something that it's like a two-step process. We first fetch all the repos from OSSD repositories, then we filter by those who are actually repositories and there's no people, and then we fetch everything.
You did that recently for GraphQL because it was the same thing for Giveth, right?
So for GraphQL, you could just specify the whole space with one cursor. It's two different. Okay, so it's two different paradigms. For this asset, how the process, the chunk, everything works is you have a list of data that you want to actually use in your fetcher. So you are basically catching that initial list of data. Then for each item, you're going to process it. You're going to then save the chunk file, and then you basically load everything back. But then for the GraphQL one, it doesn't work in that approach. What you do basically is every time that you actually fetch in between a cursor, let's say, for example, after day X, you save that in the state file.
No, but
then you just continue.
Remember, you implemented something similar where you have to a subsequent dynamic fetch depending on the result of a previous fetch, right? So you would
yes.
Is that the same thing?
Yes, it's the same thing. But the thing is right now we are using as a source, we don't use the GitHub API. We use the OSSD repositories. And then it has an asset in with like that data, because if we did it that way, we would need to do 2 API queries, one to see if that's like a repo use or whatever, then to get the data.
I see. So the fact that we're doing, because the data is not coming from also the API, but it's coming from some other already existing thing.
Yes.
So the factory is not flexible enough to specify the source data for those kinds of things yet.
Like it's basically
the
use
multiple,
case.
yeah.
Yeah, in this case that I didn't think about it. If you see like here the source, you can see that it has like this dependency of like OSD repositories, and then if we go here, we have like this where is it? This one, GitHub resource, and basically we have like the GitHub client config, and then we get basically all of like the URLs, and then we get all the functions. I think that we could make it work with the factory approach, but I just probably need just like some exploration.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, I don't think we should jam it in there, but yeah, I definitely think it would behoove us to make all of this as homogeneous as possible. Like one surface area of code to modify.
Yeah. That was my only intention. I'm just curious if there is a clean way to expose this as a generic paradigm in the factory, as opposed to how it is now. That's all.
Yeah.
Well,
also, the fetcher uses the REST API, not the GraphQL one, right?
Yes.
So
which means that
REST
theoretically we could actually write it with our REST factory, because like it works with GitHub, it has relationships. So theoretically it should be ready. The thing that I for example don't know that we handle a lot is like rate limits and stuff. I know that the client that we have custom handles like retries. It handles like all the caching like Redis to know the global state, know how many it has done. Something that's not implemented. There's a lot of magic that Ruben has done, which is not in the client.
Yeah,
So
that is yeah, interesting. Yeah, I guess it would be worth like maybe reconsidering, like it would be worth like putting some thought together about how to design this to make it a little bit easier to maintain. And reviewing some of those options, like how we can coalesce a lot of these ideas together, and if if we can coalesce all those ideas together, even, right? So
how many more custom assets do we have?
A really good question. Let me check.
I mean, the SBOM one seems like the one that I'm like personally most worried about, because we spend so much time on it. And every time you spend time on it, you're not spending time on factories that could benefit, like
multiple
GraphQL or Subgraph or ENS or Giveth or all the other things.
I think that's like mostly the OSSD ones do not rely on factories. Other than that, I think that all of them, are actually relying on factories. Open Collective as well is GraphQL, but it hasn't been migrated to any factories. So I think that like OSSD and Open Collective are the only remaining ones.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, that's actually not bad.
That's not terrible. Yeah, I would definitely file the epic. I mean, we can choose when to sequence it. Like we can do this after DevConnect, for example. But like if we look back at the last 2 quarters, how much time did you spend on the SBOM fetcher, right, Javi?
Yeah.
Like, that's all time. I don't want to call it wasted, but like it's dead time. It's duplicated time. And the sooner we pull off the Band-Aid and fix this, the better our future lives will be.
Yeah. I guess though the good thing in some ways of having to deal with like a data source like SBOM is maybe what I would really like to see from you, Javi, is like if we do try and rethink the designs here of all of the assets in general. Like if you could think of a way to make something more generic such that you could satisfy both SBOM, something like another SBOM style.
It won't be the last one.
Because it won't be. It's like it won't be the last one that needs to be stateful. It won't be the last one that needs to be continuous. it won't be the last one that needs to be very robust to failure, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to, like, you know, you don't have to be the one to code it, but if we could come up with a design for it, that would be really cool.
Yeah, if it's still fresh in your head since you're working on it now,
Yeah.
like please file the epic with like your thoughts on how you would do it.
Got it.
And it might be worth doing this in December after Dev Connect or something like that. Like in my head, the way that I'm imagining this, like, yeah, every improvement you make right now to the SBOM fetcher is not something that we're going to be able to tie into our product. Like in the future, you know, as part of our data catalog, we want to be able to specify private ingest jobs, right? Private data models, private ingest jobs. And all of that is going to be using the factory.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I think that how I see this like playing out is like a mix of these factories that we're doing, and definitely we have to have something that orchestrates them, you know, because we cannot have like a lot of like flexibility. For example, right now, if we want to use the REST factory, we have so much flexibility we can get out of it, you know. What if there's like an unhandled failure? We just need to like, you know, maybe like reschedule it instead of like throwing an error. I see a world where we actually implement something like that, which really helps with like robustness, state checkup, like checkpoints and everything. Yeah, I think that I think that's how I'm actually seeing it.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Yeah, please file the issue.
I'll file the issue.
That'd be great.
Sweet.
Cool.
Cool.
Who's next?
Oh yeah, I guess that's me. Cool. So yeah, many little things. This sprint. Let's just share this screen. Woo. So the first one on the list is yeah, we're now OSO.xyz. Goodbye, open source.
Are we OSO or OSO?
We're still OSO, yes. So OSO.xyz. So yeah, what some of the things to note here. Actually, we can maybe even go over this. I probably won't go into the Cloudflare thing specifically, but I made it such that any API endpoints do not do redirects. So it's incumbent on us, or it's important that we tell anyone who uses any of the APIs to start moving to OSO XYZ. But right now they both deploy. For the most part, they're both monitored. For some of them, I switched it entirely to OSO XYZ because we're cheap and we don't pay for a bigger uptime robot. Or did we just upgrade that actually? I don't know. Oh, we have upgraded that, so now I can monitor all of it if I want.
Well, it was upgraded like a year ago.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. But we only get 10. We only get 10 URLs that we can monitor with uptime robot.
Whatever is like the first.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So I just stayed within the 10. That's all.
Okay.
Because yeah. But yeah.
I monitor, so it's 10, 50, or 100.
Yeah, I see. So any of the APIs, they don't redirect because that will cause clients to break. But any of the physical websites, those, or like, the interactive parts of the website, they actually redirect you to OSO XYZ. Other exceptions are in like Marmo, the stuff, but we don't expect you to hit that without this. So yeah, if you see any weird issues with domain stuff, let me know. But I think I've got pretty much everything. I wrote some funky rules in Cloudflare to get this all going. Had to learn their little syntax for matching URLs and stuff, which was worked out pretty well actually. And then the next thing that we've done, I'm gonna skip to, I guess, notebook saves first. Saves in the notebook. They actually work properly. So I can show you. Hopefully this doesn't cut me off here. So I'm gonna kill the network for this specific. Yeah, here we go. So network is now down on this one. So this should error. Woo, okay, so we've seen that before. And then reconnecting shouldn't have any issues. Whoop. That's not what I want. Yeah, there you go. No issues. So, and then the one thing I can't show, obviously, is the timeouts, but that timeout thing has been completely wiped out as far as I'm aware. I have been using them. Like, I have one that I've been using for, days, and it's been fine. The one thing is you can't continuously use it for a week. That will there, but that's a different problem. So hopefully no one really runs into that. I don't know how many people are like me and keep tabs open forever. So, yeah, Carl, yeah. Oh, you're muted, or your mic.
Yeah, no issues on my side for 2 weeks or 6 whenever you push the fix.
Cool. Perfect. And then finally, the last thing that we have now is the, we were talking about this earlier at stand up. Also, you'll notice that this redirected to OSO XYZ as well. So the SQL Mesh is now set to run daily. And then every first and third Monday, it will also attempt to do the export to ClickHouse. Whether or not things are ready to be done like that, this is the train. So we've set this train schedule. It goes every day. And then again, every first and third Monday. Yes.
Does the train stop at the Nessie consumer branch?
The train stops at the Nessie consumer branch. So it does not, we do not automatically commit the Nessie branch yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say that
skip that slot. It goes directly to ClickHouse.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I guess it skips that. Yeah. It skips that entirely. So, I still want to leave that up to you just in case something's.
Yep. That's fine.
So, I just.
If no one pulled the Nessie consumer branch merge, then we could just be bringing the same metrics that were in ClickHouse last time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. That's fine.
And yeah, so that's generally it. I did some weird things there, so I can show you really quick. Might be useful to understand. That is not where I want to be. I want to be in Dexter. Yes, I do. Okay, if you go into the schedules, so I had to wrap everything into another function here, a factory function, mostly because I needed to pass in the Dagster config and to make sure that, again, that all the, that you can continuously run this locally, because some of the changes that I made were dependent on some things that actually wouldn't have worked otherwise. Mostly, there's this concept now that, this is the SQL Mesh materializing schedule. But basically, it's conditional based on the fact that SQL Mesh is actually enabled, which locally is not default. So that for anyone who's using the local development, it doesn't force them to wait so long to build everything, to run everything for Dagster. So by default, it's not enabled. And then there's this concept of everything that is SQL Mesh itself and everything downstream of it. Like this is a selector for that. And so what this schedule, what this does is it basically, first it checks, oh, is it the first or third Monday? If it's not, then it just runs just SQL Mesh. And then if it is a first or third Monday, it'll run everything, like everything downstream of SQL Mesh. So again, this doesn't include the Nessie thing because that is not an asset. That is just a job. So yeah. But yeah, that's it. Any questions? Cool.
All right, over to me.
Yep.
All right, I have one demo that we can take in many directions. So let me go here. So if you now go to oso.xyz notebooks/explore, you will see a series of featured notebooks. I think there's like 10 or so right now. We need to put a bit more thought into the hierarchy, but right now there's basically a couple different categories. So we have tutorials, we have ones that are around the ecosystem growth use case. Another more generic one, which includes both venture capital and then different types of grant programs that is looking at, different types of cohort analysis or portfolio analysis. So that includes VC, it includes auction grants, it includes looking at, say, all of the DeFi projects on the superchain. We have reputation networks, we have retro funding, and then we have some software supply chain examples. So all of these work, you should be able to click through. They should all be public, so you should be able to view them as well if you are not logged in. I can take a few, I have a few queued up here that I can walk you through because they highlight different ways of using notebooks. If you have some that you'd like to see and I don't show them, just let me know.
Random question. The icons and things for this, did you just make this all in Plasmic, or was this like a
100% Plasmic? Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah. I was like, oh man, do we have this feature like for notebooks? Okay. Yeah. No. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. For the most part, these are all actual images that come from it, so we could. Some are literally like a screenshot of a table, which we couldn't do, I guess. Others represent actual graphs that we have. But yeah, let's start with for committee. This was actually a pretty fun one that I was able to develop locally using some cursor rules and then bring over very quickly using the utility that you created, Reuven. The goal here is to help someone who is completely new get up to speed. And number one, learn a little bit about how to get data from OSO. Number two, a few of like the basic design patterns for, doing interactive controls, kind of knowing when to filter in SQL versus, downstream once you have a data frame, and then a couple of different visualization patterns. So yeah, I will give a quick walkthrough of this. First one is setting up the date filters. This is pretty common. Most notebooks have some component of this, and then being able to do some kind of a drop down as well. Yeah, basically the overall query that you use again and again. I think every single notebook has some formulation of this here, where you get the projects, the metrics, and a date range. And then, yeah, you can see I have my own personal preferences about when to filter data with pandas, especially given that we are caching the data and we are going to be trying to minimize the amount of queries that need to be done for unauthenticated users. Doing everything in data frame is probably best if you're going to share it publicly. And another thing that you have in a lot of cases are these stat boxes. So I think I have an example here. Actually, I don't have an example. But yeah, there's a common building block of creating stats widgets. Tables, again, these are the design settings that I like. The formatting configs, getting a Plotly graph, knowing when to update the layout separately. Yeah, pretty basic, but hopefully there's some good snippets here for people to copy paste and use in their notebooks. So far, so good?
Sweet.
The next one I will go to is called Network Intelligence. This used to be a hex dashboard that we had just to get a sense of how much coverage we have, how many projects, artifacts, sources, etc. We now have an interactive version of it. So in total, 450 million artifacts being indexed, 62,000 projects, and then you can actually explore the different sources. So if you take OSS directory, you click on that, you can see that we are pretty well distributed. So we've got, a lot of GitHub and packages.
You're not sharing anything right
I'm
now.
not sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Oops. What did I click? Let me come back. All right, so here we go. This is the network intelligence one.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, so once again, we have the accordion over here. You can see the methodology. These are the stats, projects, artifacts. This is an interactive sunburst chart, one of my favorites. And you can zero in on a project registry like OSS directory, and you can get a sense of all the different artifact sources and specifically how many artifacts we have within each of those sources. So yeah, if you wanted to look at how many, in the superchain, what's the distribution, you can see it's still pretty heavily optimism artifacts. And you can kind of go down the list and see some of the smaller ones. If you look at let's go back, take OP Atlas, for example, you can see that it's very superchain focused, some DeFi Llama adapters, a bit of packages, which we get from the GitHub links. We take crypto ecosystems, it's just software and packages. And if we go to open labels, it's just blockchain addresses. And then here's a table that shows all the data across the different sources that we have. Very simple, easy use case. I think it's maybe 10 cells.
Yeah, super cool.
Super cool.
Yeah. All right, next up. This was another very easy one to port over. So previously, for different Octane epochs, we had some stats that we'd give on developer activity. What I did was I took each of these that used to be a standalone notebook, consolidated them into a single dashboard that allows you to get a sense of which projects did the best in any given funding round. And then for the ones that do have an OSO slug, look up some metrics associated with them. And then you can also do a final deep dive to see funding over time, and you can pick a metric. So we can see forks or stars and get a simple graph showing funding in ETH or in USD and the metric over time. Obviously, these tables are all interactive. So let's say you want to go back to Epoch 3 and see which project had the most forks. It was web3.js. And you can see over time which products have received the most funding. So let's see where OSO is on the list. Okay, we are number 24 here. So we received, oh, sorry, this is per epoch. So we actually need to do a transformation to figure out across all epochs which project has gotten the most funding. Yeah, super simple. Again, I think these things are hopefully a dime a dozen. They take me probably an hour and a half or so, start to finish, which is a pretty big unlock. Again, that used to took, I think like Rohit took a week or so to get the first one going when he was trying to replicate it previously. So hopefully it's a lot easier now.
Yeah, I mean, I think like as a centering goal, like it's cool to hear. I appreciate the stat that this takes you about an hour and a half to do something like this. Like, I am curious, especially since some of these workflows, you said yourself, you're doing them in Cursor, you are, and then importing them after the fact. Like, yep. I am curious if we can bridge the gap between that and the AI workflows that Hobby has been working on, especially if it's multi-cell. Like, you know, how do we bring that from an hour and a half to like a half hour or 15 minutes, right?
Totally.
I'm curious, like any insights you can share about what are the biggest time sinks right now? What are the areas that feel most magical when you are doing this? Where do you see AI having the most, like where do you see the biggest gaps in our AI workflows that prevent you from doing that in-house right now?
Yeah, so for better or for worse, the most time-consuming and tedious step is always like the formatting and the design layout, unfortunately. So I think the 0 to 1 phase of basically having an idea or something that you want to fork and it being able to customize everything and get the layout right. So then you just need to focus on fine-tuning the chart and adapting the query would be a magical moment for sure. I think where I spend the most of my time debugging the code gen that I get is around Marimo specific quirks, like how it handles variable naming, and return conditions. So I've documented those issues, and I can also share some longer cursor chats that explain where it gets tripped up. But yeah, most of the problems are around that. I think beyond that, it's going to be difficult. For a simple dashboard like this, the ordering doesn't really matter. There aren't many sections. You don't really have reusable snippets that you want to reference in other parts of the app. And so it's pretty straightforward. For more complex ones, there are some things that would be, it's kind of like I have a workflow where I will start by having a lot of things at the top. And then once the notebook is moving from the exploratory stage to wanting it to be production ready, I move all of those things down to the bottom of it. So they load at different times. And if you're coming in and just want to fix, say, the markdown or the way a chart looks and feels, you find that at the top of the notebook as opposed to somewhere down in the middle or the bottom. But that's really only an issue once you have a more complex notebook.
Got it. How much of the formatting, like back to the first thing that you said, how much of the formatting is a function of you really want it in the notebook and the formatting is like the layout of how this notebook is laid out versus like outer frame sugar, right? In the world of outer frame sugar, we've discussed, having in addition to the title, you have a description. In addition to the description, you have like an author chip or like a date, like last modified chip. And these things are not auto-generated by AI, but rather just attributes of the notebook that get shown in the outer frame. How much of it is that versus how much of it is like laying out the notebook itself?
I'd say, unfortunately, a very small amount is the outer frame stuff. A lot of it is just around the notebook layout. I'll give you another example. So these are some of the easier ones. The other experiment that I did was trying to move some of our older blog posts over to a notebook version. So let me show some examples of what that looks like. And I think you'll see some of the areas where, I don't know, like obviously you can do whatever you want with this. My personal take is it doesn't do as well when it comes to having a longer form blog post, but we can review that. All right, so let me switch over to the next one here, which is the Gitcoin analysis. This is definitely a more, I would say it's like a medium in terms of complexity. The data is getting manipulated a fair amount, and then there's some reusable functions that had to be adapted. So this one took, probably twice as long to adapt to Marimo. There's also a companion blog post, which I can show, but the charts are effectively the same. It's very easy to go from other Python-based charting libraries like Matplotlib and Seaborn and so on to Plotly. I'm almost getting like perfect, one-shot transformation from Matplotlib or Seaborn into Plotly, which is great. And then you obviously have interactivity, which you don't have with Matplotlib. So that part is really cool, feels magical. Even things like the annotations are working really well. So you can see, I should probably just show the before and after. But you can highlight over these and you can get all the details over it. It looks pretty nice. And the way this works now is that you basically have these 4 different phases. So I didn't change anything from how we had it previously, but you can imagine another version where you can select a year or something, and you'll just get the chart for that year. But here it's all kind of grouped in the same way that we had in the blog post. And then the big thing is this main chart over here, which basically tracks for all these projects, how much funding have they received over time, and what has been the growth in full-time developers, contributors, part-time developers, et cetera. I did not recreate this with our time series metrics. This was pre-time series metrics. So it's coming from a data export, essentially. But we could obviously rebuild that if we wanted to. But I think what I like most about this is that it took a pretty complex asset, and we now have it in dashboard format with interactivity, and it looks really good as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's cool.
I shared this with Kevin, and he was like, "This is sweet. How can I promote it?" So he's excited about it as well. But there was a longer form blog post which had text explaining each of these things. I don't think it looked very good. I can share a version of what that consisted of before, but I feel like it's probably gonna be more effective having blog posts and then taking some assets and putting them in, as opposed to trying to do everything in the notebook. The other thing which gets annoying, maybe you can kind of see here.
Why is that, Carl? Just because the notebook like takes a long time to load or something, or what's the?
I think it's less about that. It's more like, sorry, let me just flip this over. This is a big one. It's a bit slow to flip over. Sorry.
No, shoot.
I am.
Come on, Marmo.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So I think probably one of the most annoying things that you basically have these code blocks, and then let me see if there's an example. You're not normally when you're writing a blog post, you're writing text, markdown, and then you have a small little embeddable chart, right? So it's very little HTML or JavaScript, and it's mostly just markdown. Here it's kind of the opposite, which is that you're writing mostly the Python, and then you need to figure out exactly where you want to have the markdown come in. So it's actually quite annoying having to figure out where is the right point in the cell to put something in. And if you're using a variable, then you typically can't have that. So there's a lot of annoyances there, I would say.
Actually, yeah. Okay.
As it gets long and you want to have your charts at the bottom and stuff, it's just not.
Yeah, it's not necessarily made for that. Yeah,
it's not made for that for sure.
Yeah.
This
it would be better to have a notebook separate and then be able to reference figures in the notebook.
That's what I think is probably the better flow.
There are multiple Carls using that notebook.
There are multiple Carls. This is working. I have it open on another tab. But here's an example, so you can kind of see what this looks like when you have. I did this one last night, but you can basically, you have these functions in here, and then, pretty complex charts, and then you're basically trying to put your Marmo cell, display your figure, maybe do some math, have another markdown. It's just really difficult to keep track of all of that, and I don't know. If you're having AI help, then it's a bit easier. But this one, for instance, this is being generated by a function as opposed to typing it out. I don't know. I'm going there, but I think this is probably not a very common use case. And I
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it isn't, but I don't know. Maybe that's because there hasn't been, the tooling to make it easy to do. It's very interesting. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I don't know that we want to build anything to solve this right now, but it's just sort of food for thought for me right now.
Yeah, so I put this one in here because it took a pretty complicated notebook. There's a lot of math. There's some clustering analysis, which is happening here, and there's the blog post. So it's everything. And yeah, you can see all of that here. Again, I don't think this is probably an example I'd expect other people to follow, but it shows what's possible.
Cool.
This was a fun one. So Ray, I know we discussed doing some kind of open source DeFi analysis. This is the 0 to 1 step. Again, probably took about an hour and a half to do end to end, but it basically takes all projects that have TVL on either Ethereum mainnet or one of the layer 2s, adds up that TVL, and then sees how many of them also have open source repos and how many contributors you have over time for those projects. And then you can see the trend over time. I'm now realizing that this drop is actually probably more because of the GitHub issues than it is because of there being a drop in actual development. Ruben?
Sorry, I thought this was an intermittent issue, not a sustained multi-month issue.
It goes back to May. There's like a drop off.
Oh yeah, in May, some data issue started with GitHub.
Yeah, here.
Yeah,
Let's look at this.
like a bunch of people complained about this
But like
with the GitHub archive.
issues since then, or
Yes, there's been issues since then, but it's not the same one that completely stopped things
Right.
like yesterday. Yeah, it's just that less data is getting scraped than you know.
You can see all events starting in around mid-May. There's like a 30% drop off or something.
Yeah. Everybody reports the same thing. Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, you can basically see over here, here's the TVL. You can see growth in TVL, see how old the product's been around, how many repos it maintains, average full-time contributors. I think the next step would actually be trying to, get some ratio of how much we think is actually open sourced versus being developed closed source. What I've noticed a lot of projects, they will do all of their development privately, and then they'll push like a public version of their contracts or of the docs and so on, but all the development is happening separately. So you can get a sense of that over time. Any questions here?
no? I mean, it's just kind of hard. Like, I think what you're trying to get at is you want to be able to make a statement like, even though there's greater TVL and higher DeFi activity, like you want to be able to say something like, oh, is there a proportional amount of like increased open source development, or do we believe that the newcomers are predominantly closed sourced or something like that?
Yeah,
right?
so that would be, again, I just laid out the data. I haven't actually done any secondary analysis, but I think what you would see here is that typically the projects that have, the older projects have much more kind of activity, and a lot of the newer ones are open sourcing something, but not actually developing it. Or they're making a copy of things public, but they're not actually building publicly. Like, Robinhood, for instance, they have a bunch of repos, but there's no activity there. They're literally just it's like some code that they push there and they don't maintain. But the queries behind this are very, very simple, which is nice. So you can see it's just 2 queries and you get all that. The last thing I'll share is that I rebuilt all of the retro funding dashboards. So previously there was 1 dashboard per month. Now there's basically a single consolidated view, which allows you to select the month, and you can get all the results. It has some labeling to see which projects have moved up or down. Typically, when we're doing QA, we'll identify projects that have missed rewards and see, okay, are there any ones here that we should be concerned about? And you can check the numbers to see if it's justified by the numbers, if there could be some bug where all of these are zeros. And then you can look at eligibility as well. So there's a similar one for the dev tooling as well. You can filter by chain, etc. So yeah, got a lot of notebooks. Any others that you'd like to see?
No, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Like they should map basically to our solutions pages, right? We can talk to the designer about either inlining them or presenting this in a different way, but it's a good start.
Yep.
Cool, thanks. By the way, you have a GitLab icon for each of these. I don't know if that was intentional.
I didn't set those. No, that was whatever was in there when I began.
Yeah, I think that's the default one that I used in the card. You can either disable it or change it.
Yeah, I thought about I put a paw one in there, but then I realized that the designer was probably going to give us something, so I didn't go too far down the
Okay.
playing with different SVGs.
I just realized we still have OSO terminal in the product drop down.
Yeah, you can change that.
Oh, just looking at these things, it's like, oh, what's going on in the website? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think this will be a lot snappier when we get published HTML working. So not quite ready to fully share yet, but are all of these in the OSO organization?
Yeah, so actually that's a good point, because if you go to the OSO organization, it's getting hard to find what you need. There's a
Yes.
yes.
This is the first thing I noticed. I was like, because it's also confusing because it says recent notebooks.
Right.
And does that mean all notebooks? Or is this sorted? Like.
I mean, I think this is a good thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is the best possible scenario that we could come up with, because we were basically saying, 3 weeks after Madrid, which is when we first built this, we've already stretched it to its limits, and now we need to actually add new abstractions. Do we need to add tagging? Do we need to add folders? Do we need to add search bars? Like, all that is actually great signs. It means that we're stressing the product in the right ways. So, yeah, we can, if you want, I would suggest enumerating pain points in issues. So for example, like a pain point would be like, okay, there's too much crowding in the dashboard, and then we can explore different ways to solve it, right? I'm not saying like whether it's search or folders or something like that. I don't think the right way to handle this right now is to prescribe solutions. Rather, I think it's better just to enumerate pain points as issues, and then we can discuss how we want to iterate on it. But I mean, there's some very low lift things we could do, like, like adding tags is not that hard, right? Like, we could add a tag, we could add a folder, like all these things are pretty easy. We could just turn this into a virtual scroll box that's searchable, and maybe that's good enough for now. Like, these are all things that we can try, but yeah, I'm happy to see so many notebooks.
Yeah, I think one thing, I know we have an issue with this, but notebooks live at different stages, right? So I look at Ruben's Eigenfork, and this is at a, I don't know, very early stage. And you have something like this one, which is fork me, but don't actually edit me, because in theory, this should be like really not changing very often. So one of the things that Hex does is it has a couple of, which we can borrow from, is like, I think 4 different, it's like a project board or something, ways of designating the status of an app.
Yeah, so you can either have hard-coded statuses, or you can have generic labels like GitHub issues.
Yeah.
But that's what I meant by tags. So I don't know. I mean, we can figure this out. Cool. But yeah, this is exciting. We are entering new territories.
Yeah. Should definitely version notebooks. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've also been saving copies as well, because
Yeah.
You know how Plasmic does it? Every like 10 seconds, it will try to do a save. Every single save is immutable.
Yeah.
I
see.
It saves every single, they call them revisions. You don't see it. It's not presented in the UX, but it's constantly saving. And it checks if there's a diff. If there's no diff, it won't save.
Sure.
So I guess that's how you save like time or whatever. But every 10 seconds, it will do a diff. It will save it if there's a change. You get revisions. So now you have like many thousands of revisions, because it's just like saving under the hood. And then the ones that get published get copied into another table. And then you're constantly garbage collecting.
Yeah.
From the revision table.
Got it.
So there's a revision table, and then there's a published versions table, and
Yeah,
you're constantly saving and garbage collecting the revision table. I don't know if that's how we want to do it, but at the very least, yeah, I don't know. We should think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
like, what is the use case for storing a lot of versions? What are you going to do with it?
Oh, like all I would want to do is be able to have, like, I guess, tagged versions, right? So that way, like, if Carl's doing editing a notebook, and then he's like, oh, this is where I want this revision to be like remembered,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
yeah.
So we
So
can
kinda
revert
like-
to it if I mess up, or something.
So in Google
right?
Docs, they have this notion of a named version. So they have like implicit versions and
Exactly.
named versions. I think if we only, so I don't think we need
I
implicit
don't think
versions.
we need history.
Yeah,
but
I don't think we need history. I don't think we need revisions. I
Yeah.
think just like named
Yeah.
versions or published versions is
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
makes
It's
sense.
like it's essentially the same as like a GitHub tag or whatever, right? now,
Yeah,
like,
or a release or something.
Yeah. I do think for models, you may probably want like, the undo history, right? Like some depth of undo history,
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like, or I mean, maybe even for the notebooks, right? Like, so that we could have an undo like timeline, right? Because I mean, if it's between multiple people, at some point you might be like, huh?
Mhm.
So like, who did this? But yeah, I mean, for now we don't have a lot of control over what is rendered in the notebook, so can't really do much there.
Mhm. Cool. Exciting times.
Fun.
I know we have to meet with Sahil in a bit. I need to take a break and get some water. And then, yeah, do you all still want to plan later today, or?
I mean, sure, yeah. I guess, yeah. How's timing for you right now, Javi? It is getting later.
So it's 7:30 p.m. for me. It's fine. I will have dinner later. Yeah, we have sprint plan at 8 p.m. Do we want to keep it there? Do we want to move it later?
I'm happy to do it then, if it's not too late for you, Javi. Otherwise, we can move it to tomorrow morning.
I think it's fine. Let's do it so we can keep the momentum.
All right,
Okay, cool.
all right. Heavy meeting day. Let's go. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Let's rip off the Band-Aid.
Ciao.